ADHD Awareness Month. And
Be aware.
yeah, I love how aware or more aware, because it's not enough. Let's be very clear. There isn't enough awareness because I talked to a potential client yesterday who heard from her doctor that she's an adult, so she absolutely can't have ADHD. She's never had a full-time job that she's kept for more than a month.
Even if she had, she could still
Yeah,
be an adult with ADHD.
yeah.
Who makes these?
The I don't know. The medical community has to catch up to the rest of the world, I swear. But there's still a lot of misinformation out there and stuff. But amount of increased awareness over, especially the last like 5 years, has been amazing. I mean, TikTok, obviously, we all talk about this. We've all seen that's where a lot of ADHD content really started getting a lot of attention. And it's amazing. Well, yes, Miss Brit is definitely part of that. I
I'm
am not.
obsessed with TikTok.
I I
Nostalgia.
I love watching TikTok, but I am not so good with TikTok. And Facebook and LinkedIn are
Fair.
obviously my more are my things. TikTok
Yeah,
is I'm there, but it's not my thing. That's it. But being able to see other women talking about their ADHD and like really sharing the amount of misinformation that's still within that is still pretty exhausting and epic, but it's still, even the misinformation is bringing higher awareness.
that's true. Although I wish the misinformation would stop.
Yes.
Just me.
Just because I sleep like this does not mean I'm ADHD. It may mean I have EDS or POTS, but does not mean you're
Right.
ADHD. Or just because I have 5 cups of coffee a day does not mean I'm ADHD. I know neurotypicals who do that. No, I mean,
I know
uh,
difficult to blow past that.
oh, now me, I am ADHD and coffee is life, but that's another discussion, and may or may not be because of my ADHD.
Right.
Um, so
Right.
just there's so much disinformation out there, but the amount of awareness even that has brought is appreciated, especially to those like I've been ADHD coaching for 25 years.
Yeah. You're not new to this game.
I'm not new to this game. And the amount of new ADHD coaches out there is pretty cool to see though too. Though I wish the
Yeah,
ADHD
me
coaching
too.
programs did a better job. But there's always going to be that. Like there are therapists. I wish we had more therapists available to us. I wish there were better coaching certification processes out there that one weren't so freaking expensive, and two were more comprehensive. And the apps, obviously, we've been inundated with apps over the last however many years.
Yeah. I have mixed feelings about that. As someone who has worked for a few apps, I have mixed feelings about not the apps themselves, but like the inundation of them.
Well,
Um,
and I see so many. It's kind of like just get a planner. It will make everything better. Just get a planning app for ADHD. It's going to make everything better. It's just the new paper planner. Those are the apps that drive me insane. There are so many planning apps, and every ADHDer obviously is going to react differently because some of them we find something that
of
we
course.
absolutely love, and it's awesome that we have so many things out there. But there have been some ads for ADHD apps that make me question everyone and everything and question humanity.
Oh, yes. Yes. You ever read it now and you're like, I know the person who wrote this does not have ADHD.
Mhm. There was, and I don't even remember what the company was. And we both, you and I both worked for an app for a while, and in the community chat, we shared the ad for this app, and you, like so many, all of us, ripped it apart because it was so bad.
Did it? I've seen too many at this point. Was that the one that said it would cure your ADHD?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Yeah. Nay, nay. Hey, just in case anybody doesn't know this, an app is not capable of curing ADHD. And let's just be aware.
Okay, so just so we're all clear, there's no medication, no therapy, no app, no book, no manifestation affirmation process that is going to cure
Essential
your ADHD.
oil. Yeah.
Essential oils, yes.
And that's okay.
There's nothing wrong with that. But again, there's just we've been targeted with all of these things, which it has its pluses and minuses again.
Yeah.
And then there's coaching apps and the accessibility that these coaching apps bring to ADHDers and the apps
Yeah.
themselves have brought a level of awareness out there. There's Shimmer and Inflow and Agave and there's one other one out there that I saw recently they're bringing help to a level so that so many more ADHDers can get support that need it.
Yeah.
Every app isn't right for every person. So if you're using one of these apps, I'm just going to say this out here right now, and you're like, it's not helping. I don't feel like this is a good thing. Then quit. Get rid of your subscription. Everybody understands they're meant for that, and try the next one because
Also, listen, those of us who have worked at or for an ADHD app, we all have ADHD. We're coming and going like,
oh yeah, absolutely. And
we're not
and
going to be
we
offended.
your coaches above all are definitely not going to be offended that hey, this isn't working for me.
No. No. Also, a great opportunity, whether or not you stay with an app, if your app is attached, if your app comes with a one-on-one coach, this could be a great conversation to have with that coach before your subscription is over. Either, hey, this app isn't working for me. Is there a better way for me to engage with it and use it? Um, you know, can we make this work for me? Because you might just need a few shifts, or hey, here are the reasons this isn't working for me. What what might you suggest moving forward? Um,
And and I know that when you and I worked for the one app, we would be like us coaches would be talking together in the background going, I have this client. I think you would be a better fit for them.
mhm.
And it may be just as simple as it's not the app, it's the coach. Your coach isn't specialized in what you need right now, or the
Yeah,
personality differences are different.
personality can be everything.
So I got, and I don't even remember who I got. I got this one client she's in her 70s, and she got put with, and I don't even remember who she got put with, somebody that was just too young for her. And she's like, I don't even understand the language they're speaking. She goes, I just needed somebody who was old like me. And I'm like, I don't know whether I should take offense to that or be happy I could help.
She needs someone closer to her generation,
Yes, but
and
but
that's
it's
okay.
and that's fine. And sometimes it's the I got inundated at one point with all kinds of dev guys as ADHD clients because I have a background in dev, and that just made more sense to them to talk to somebody who got their job. There's so many reasons why a personality thing is a reason why coaching might not be working for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
It
and
could be
some
as simple as like this coach looks like my ex who pissed me off, and I can't stare at their face without
exactly.
getting angry. It's like, okay, cool. A
I
good coach will not be offended.
So I had a coach once, and I did it through an app when I was testing apps out, and her voice, from a sensory standpoint, I couldn't handle her voice. It doesn't matter. Reach out to your coach, ask the questions, ask how to change, because it's we want you to get the help you need. That's like
Yeah,
there is an ADHD coach out there who's going to be offended or upset or frustrated
not
that
a good one.
we want you to get the help you need.
Yes. And like 9 times out of 10, this is something I tell every single one of my clients. If you come to me with an issue that is not ADHD related and I can't support you with it, or it is ADHD related and I'm not the person, I will do everything I can to set you up with the correct people and resources to support you around whatever that is. I will do what I can within my scope. I just want you to feel like life is manageable. I want you to have a good time.
We want you out of burnout. We want you out of overwhelm, and we want your executive function to actually be functioning and not in dysfunction. That's all we care about. That's
Maybe
all we
we do.
want. And I've passed clients off to Brit before, and just completely different business at that
And
point,
vice versa.
and vice versa. I mean, and that's what a good coach is going to look for. So, a little bit of advice on bad information and things out there. Get who you need, because there will be somebody who is going to be a good fit for you.
Yeah.
I'm not the best coach for everybody. Brit's not the best coach for everybody.
No,
Just
I'm
figure out
not.
who you need.
I
No,
have
no.
a very specific client that does really well with me. It is, and I know him when I meet him. And I'm like,
Mhm. Exactly. Exactly.
and
So,
that's for a million reasons.
with ADHD, the more awareness out there, what has that changed for you as an ADHDer?
I think the general public is more aware of the very real struggle that it can be. This has started a lot more conversations. So, I may say, I'm from Washington, D.C., well, that area, the DMV, for anyone who's familiar. Um, and kind of the question there when you meet people is like, oh, what do you do? Um, when I say that now, it's met with, oh, my daughter, cousin, best friend, husband, so and so has ADHD. Blah, 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 blah. There seems to be more awareness in general just about what it means to have ADHD. And I do less explaining of like, what exactly is ADHD? Adults can have that. And it feels more normalized.
Yeah.
Um, I think what's really cool, the increased awareness on ADHD and mental health in general, they feel very tied together. Um, it has allowed me to feel more connected to people without ADHD, but who are dealing with similar struggles. So there are a lot of conditions where some of these symptoms overlap. Um, ADHD and autism. I grew up with this stigma around autism, as many of us did, that like people with autism, you just can't relate to them. They're not people. And like most of the people I feel I can relate to best have autism. There's so much overlap in symptomology. Um, I've learned that bipolar disorder shares a lot of symptoms with ADHD. Uh, Trauma shares a lot of symptoms with ADHD. Um, Now, these are all very distinct diagnoses, but it has certainly helped me feel more connected to people at large, knowing, hey, like I'm not alone in this boat of executive dysfunction. There are people all around me going through it for different reasons, and it may present in different ways, but like we're one. We're all dealing with a lot of this same ish. And like it makes me feel so much less alone and so much less like I'm bad at being a human. It's like, nah, being a human is hard.
and I that's one of the things that I love is I do feel, even though I've been doing this for 25 years, there's a lot of times as a woman that I have felt alone, because almost I will tell you that for years all of my clients were men, for
I believe it.
probably 15 years. I might get one female client here and there, but my clients
Yeah.
were predominantly men.
Well, and for
And
people who aren't aware of the research trends, women were only significantly included in ADHD research in the 1990s.
mhm, 1990s. So,
1990.
like I said, my first 10, maybe 15 years, well, almost 15 years, my first 1,000 clients were all men,
Wow.
all men. Part of that is because I worked in tech and I was working with people in tech,
And that
and
was
that kind of is also not a very women based industry, or hadn't been. It's more so now, but even so, my first 1,000 clients were men.
that is intense.
So over the last like 8, 9 years, being able to see other women talking about it, and other women saying, because our experience as women is a very, very different than a man's experience with ADHD.
Yes, it is. That's so, as a much younger ADHD coach, and I don't mean like, oh, Danielle's so much older than me. I mean, as someone who's been doing this specific work much for much less time, that is fascinating to me because most of my clients, the vast majority, are not men. They're
Now I'm
women,
a
they're
50/50
non-binary, they're
split.
genderqueer. Like,
Hmm.
I don't. It's rare that a man signs up to work with me.
Hmm. And again, I think part of that is because of my background in tech, working in IT and dev and project management and all of that for so long. But for me to start seeing other women posting and talking about ADHD, and the conversations increasing, that awareness has been huge for me as a woman. I don't feel alone. I don't feel like maybe there's something wrong because my ADHD isn't like his ADHD at all. Like,
No,
what's wrong with me that my ADHD doesn't match? And of course, as somebody with a degree in therapy and all of that, and yes, I'm not licensed and all that because rules. Um, Even that, the diagnostic criteria 20 something years ago when I got my degree, I didn't match any of it, like 1 or 2 points, but I didn't match that
yeah.
at all. And
And
back
it's
then it was a behavioral issue too.
exactly. Well, women are socialized differently. Women and girls are socialized very differently. I noticed with a lot of my female clients or assigned female at birth clients, they are better at masking because
Mhm,
the social expectations of them are very different. I'm not going to say better or worse because really just depends on where you are. Um,
mhm.
but social expectations are different. So they learn to mask in a different way. And it's harder to catch sometimes. Um, Women who are menstruating or in perimenopause or menopause or approaching puberty, our hormones play such a significant role in how our neurotransmitters are working in our brain.
Ah,
Depending on what day you go for an assessment.
yeah, depending on what day, your energy level, do you have a comorbidity that's going to affect your ADHD, like Ehlers Danlos, or for me, it's
Anxiety.
MS,
Yeah,
anxiety? Is it cold out? Is it hot out? Did we not sleep last night? Did our children not sleep? So have we not eaten today? I mean, all of those things can affect our ADHD in very different ways from men.
absolutely. I think another cool thing that I've seen in regards to awareness of ADHD, and I hope this approaches, maybe not the best word. I hope people feel this more moving forward, is a little earlier on, kind of in my TikTok career. I don't know, career is the only word I can think of. My TikToking, I had a lot of new moms reach out to me and say, I think I might have ADHD. I didn't before I had this baby, but I think I may have developed it. One, as far as science knows, you don't develop ADHD as an adult. But these women were experiencing a lot of the same executive dysfunction symptoms and saying, oh my gosh, I can relate to this because lack of sleep. Um, and I think it's really important that we understand like everyone has access on some level to what it is like to have ADHD. If you don't have it, you're never going to have the full picture. But if you've ever gone 3, 4, 5 nights without a solid night of sleep and you can't remember the thing you're holding, or you're asking people to repeat themselves 7 times over, that is executive dysfunction
And
brought on by a
anybody,
lack of sleep. Yeah.
yeah, brought on by lack of sleep, lack of food, lack of nutrition, lack of relaxation time. Even if you are sleeping, a lot of moms, and whether you're a new mom or not, I know moms who have teenagers who still experience some of the same thing because their mental load is so high of taking care of everyone else that theirs is decreased for themselves. You may or may not have ADHD, but the fact that that huge hormone shift does bring up ADHD, actual ADHD for a lot of women, because their masking techniques no longer work
They don't
once
work
there's a
anymore.
major hormone shift. And that happens to women once they hit menopause too. We're seeing huge amount of women get diagnosed in menopause, and it's not because you suddenly have ADHD. You've always had it, just because we're
Yep.
socialized differently as women and all of that, and our hormones were more stable-ish way back when, and our masking capabilities were way more stable way back when. Once we hit menopause, we're not able to keep that level of masking up and all of those things. So it changes.
It ebbs, it flows.
And I will tell you, as somebody who's known their ADHD, I'm ADHD, I've known since I was a child,
Yeah.
nothing different. Hitting menopause has made me feel even more insane some days. And I know
So,
I'm ADHD. So I can't imagine being a woman who's not experienced that stuff and then hit menopause and feel it, because
and
my
feel like,
AD,
am I okay?
a couple weeks ago, my ADHD had ADHD, and then they were all taking steroids, and my autism just like was gone because ADHD completely took over all 12 forms of it, and
I'm
maybe
seeing like the
40.
Kool-Aid man bust through.
Oh my word. And I was sitting on my couch going, how do other women deal with this? What? Seriously, I can't think. I'm forgetting to breathe. I feel insane.
Yeah, I believe it.
So I can't imagine having that hit all at once and not knowing you're ADHD.
Woo! That would be really scary. That would be really scary.
I've worked with women in that menopause time of life that are just discovering their ADHD for 5, 6 years now. Now I fully understand and can sympathize.
Hmm.
Commiserate. I can commiserate.
Fair.
So I think one of the most fun things that I've seen, that one, I mean, obviously other people understanding, like there's a lot more
Yeah.
understanding, and being able to, oh my gosh, you just called me out by saying that. Like Britt posts that Britt is the queen of posting things, and me going, why you call me out like that? Like seriously. Did you remember to take your meds today? I don't know how many times I've seen you post that and me go,
No. Actually, you saying that made me realize I haven't taken my meds yet.
I have. I took mine this morning. Um, but I mean, just seeing things like that is, did you remember to take your meds today? Hey, did you put your laundry in your dryer? Crap, no, I didn't. Why are you calling me out like that? Or put down, you do not need another water bottle. You probably already have one on your desk. Somebody posted that the other day, and I went in and I had three. They all had water in them. But and we laugh at those things, and we're laughing, but it makes me feel safe and seen. It really makes me feel seen
Yeah.
by seeing those things. But the other thing that I really love that's out there is there's so much more information for women than there was, because I think even before TikTok, while they knew that women's diagnostic criteria in the 90s was different and things like that, and they started to move,
Yeah.
TikTok has forced the mental health community to really pay attention to us.
Good. It's interesting because even now, if you like go on Indeed or something, the there's so many more spots opening up for mental health professionals who specialize in ADHD, which
Mhm.
is cool.
It's cool because I mean, I've spent years trying to find, it took me until 2 years ago to find a therapist that actually got it. Because it's hard to find people who really understand and fully get it, and you want somebody who is it. I think for the most part, that's one of the things that I've learned over the last 5, 6 years is having somebody who's like me to treat me is a big deal, because while somebody might understand the diagnostic criteria still aren't completely right. So having somebody who lives it every day, male or female, they don't necessarily have to be a woman, but a male doctor is more likely to go, well, I don't experience that. I get you. I hear you. And that's not something we've had before, especially as women. There are so many, we have been gaslit and neglected and all of that stuff for so long. Having all of this information on TikTok, and a lot of it is just comedy and maybe even misinformation. Unfortunately, I think there's more misinformation than there is good information, but it
Probably.
has helped. It has helped.
Yeah,
So,
it's interesting how like on TikTok every now and then I get someone asking me a question or being like, I'm doing this because you said so. And like, really, I was just making a joke about my own personal life. Like, listen, even if it's my page, you can find me at your ADHD fairy gap mentor. But even if it's my TikTok page or another like really reputable creator, please speak with a mental health professional about anything really big that you're changing. Do not change up your medications or your supplements
based
without
on a joke or something,
oversight.
but
Yeah.
do not, okay, the supplement thing. Do not start taking supplements without talking to your doctor first. Supplements are still medication, a form of medication. Please do not change your supplements without talking to a doctor first, especially if you're on something already.
Yes. Especially if you have comorbidities.
Please, oh, please go talk to a medical professional. And aren't, if your medical professional isn't helping, reach out to Britt and I because we have a network and we can help you find a better medical
We
professional.
will
And
help
we
you
will,
find some. Yes.
because, yeah,
Also,
don't get
don't
me
be
started.
reaching out on TikTok to people who are not doctors to ask doctor level questions.
Yeah, don't,
I get these questions a lot and I want to help, but I don't have the training. You know, people will ask me questions all the time about, would you think I should take this medication or this medication? It's like, one, I don't have a PhD or an MD in this field. Two, I don't know your entire medical history.
yeah. So yeah. Okay. So also here's something. Don't, if a doctor tells you on TikTok and gives you direct information about a certain medication and stuff, that is a red flag because they do not have your medical history. Because your medical history is based on you and you alone and your blood work and your hormone levels and all of those things.
Genetic.
Nobody, all of these things do not. And the other thing to know, and I think this is a big one, is when you meet one person with ADHD, you've met one person with ADHD. Every one of us interacts, engages, has different energy levels, hormone levels. I mean, all of these things. And our ADHD, while me may go, oh, don't call me out, I'm not taking my meds today, and we can laugh at that. The reason why I haven't taken my meds today is probably very, very different than Britt not taking hers today.
Yes.
So just because you think you find somebody who totally gets you doesn't mean they do. And just because I offer up a, hey, I wrote something on executive dysfunction and I'm doing a bunch of videos on that right now. And executive dysfunction and may be very different for you, or the tool you use to get out of time for time management. I've got, I might talk about one tool on a video, but I have 90 in my toolbox for that one thing because
Yep.
today that thing works for me, tomorrow it might not. So
Yep.
just because a coach mentions, even your coach mentions just one thing that you're working on or one thing to do, or that person on TikTok, ask them other questions. Well, how else do you deal with that? Because I guarantee you, Britt and I know Britt and I have joked about this for. I have a whole entire toolbox just on time management, like a whole huge like wall length with a million drawers, versions of what I do for my time management issues, depending on the day. So just the
And
one
if I
thing on
remember
TikTok,
them all at the same time.
well, I'm going to do things wrong in the most difficult way possible before I
Yeah.
remember I have a tool for that every
Oh,
single
yeah.
time.
Oh, yeah. Or, and I love this as a coach, sometimes people get the mistaken idea that I just always use my tools. No, I'm just like you. Sometimes I'm just stubborn as hell. And I'm like, no, I want to be able to do it all by myself, but no assistance or accommodation because I'm a perfectionist. And I'll refuse to use the tool and then ultimately give in later when I realize that was a poor idea.
Yeah. Mhm. But that's the other thing, and I think that's where misinformation, it feels like it's misinformation sometimes when a coach does post about a tool that they use or a thing that they do or whatever. The thing to understand is it's not a one and done, and you aren't broken and even worse than I am because the tool I mentioned didn't work for you. And I think that's something I hear a lot when people reach out to me is, well, I tried this thing that somebody did and I'm just broken and I'm worse and I'm not able to do that thing. That's not true. You just haven't found the way to do it for you in this particular situation. So I think that's one thing
Yes.
that like TikTok is actually not helping with is people feel more broken and more shameful sometimes because Brit gives a tip or a tool and it's amazing and it works for her, and then you think you're even worse or more broken or whatever because it's not working for you.
Yeah, and you're not. Something I also run into is people struggle using a tool because there is another diagnosis getting in the way.
Mhm.
Um, I have a lot of people come to me with ADHD, and that's the first thing they want to focus on. When in reality, from a medical standpoint, that's actually probably not the most important thing to be looking at. There are other diagnoses that are far more dangerous that may require more immediate attention that you need to deal with appropriately to adequately engage with ADHD care. I know for me, I have generalized anxiety disorder, and until that was treated appropriately, there was no way I was going to get anything out of, ADHD tools because I was so dysregulated all the time. Um, So there's 100 reasons why an ADHD tool may not work for you in the moment. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't have to mean anything beyond this tool did not work for me in this moment.
And things that can affect it. One, you may have another diagnosis. Two, you may not have slept the perfect 12 hours and 22 minutes, point 5 seconds that you needed today. Uh,
Did you
you
eat?
Did you eat? Did you remember to drink any water in the last 24 hours? Have you is your hair bothering you today? Does your hair hurt? Does your teeth hurt? Did you brush your teeth and now you're sick to your stomach because you brushed your teeth today? Um, is your coffee wasn't the perfect temperature with the perfect amount of creamer in it today? I mean, anything can
Are you
affect a
lonely?
tool not working for you. Are you lonely? Are you
Do
cold?
you
Are
need
you
a
hot?
hug?
Are you, yeah,
Yeah.
everything can affect why a tool doesn't work today, which is why it's so fun to figure out what your tools are and then why you need a whole entire toolbox.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
It's all the things.
And and especially if you're new to a tool, sometimes that tool takes practice, right? And sometimes you have to make it work for you, right? Not every tool works for example, a lot of people like the Pomodoro method when it comes to working in sprints. If you're unfamiliar with the Pomodoro method, working for 25 minutes on, 5 minutes off. for about an hour,
Mhm.
or 2 hours, something like that. I I have days where that's too long to stay focused. So I'll push it to 15 minutes on, 10 minutes off, and that's okay.
And there are days that I can do something for a total of 2.5 seconds. And
Hmm.
then I set that aside and I go, I'm going to try that in another day when I have a 5 minute attention span.
There you go.
And it's just it's understanding your patterns, honestly. We all have to understand our patterns, and that's one of the bigger things that's hard for us to do as ADHDers. So, Britt, what is your favorite tool this week?
This week, honestly, it's been this fidget toy, this very specific fidget toy. Because I felt a lot of like internal hyperactivity this far this week, and this is something really easy when I'm watching TV, talking with a client. I can just kind of mess with it, and it helps quiet that part of my brain. And just allows me to relax and just kind of off put that hyperactivity a little bit. What about you?
Absolutely. And my favorite tool this week is I have a new notepad and it is a Star Wars Darth Vader notepad. And I have to write
I love
this
it.
week. I'm not able to process anything. I have to write it down to process it. So having a notepad that one, I like the texture of. I love the texture of this paper. And then I have my favorite pen and writing things down. And I love the fact that it's a Darth Vader notepad. So I'm more likely to use it.
Yeah,
It's
look,
helping me.
this is
Then
my
I can process.
mine's dogs.
I know you're arguing. So we have exciting things happening around here. Britt is doing a live event tomorrow with Shimmer. What are you talking about tomorrow?
Yes, it's a Latinx panel with a bunch of Latinx ADHD professionals talking about ADHD in our community and how it may show up differently, trends they may have noticed within the community, personal experience. Um, so, Latinos are the largest minority in the United States. And if you go to look at any of the research for us around ADHD, good luck. Good luck finding it. So we're here to raise awareness that hey, we're here. We have ADHD at the same rate as everyone else, and here are the things our community is experiencing. And when I say our community, uh, please understand that we are not a monolith. But for the sake of this month, sometimes we have to talk about it like we are.
Eh, I get that, completely get that. So I
Me
am,
too.
I and members of my team are speaking next month at CHAD in Anaheim,
Hey.
California, and we're sharing that building habits doesn't have to be really hard when you have ADHD. So we're sharing a new way to build habits that we have built with a lot of psychology and a lot of science behind how to build a habit the easy way and the fun way with ADHD. So
Oh,
if you're going to Chad, look for the Star Wars table because we are going to have lightsabers. So we can have lightsaber battles.
oh yeah. Approved. I need to hook you up with a guy who makes custom lightsabers.
Oh, yes, you do.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, she speaks my
I
language.
feel
She
like
understands me.
you two would
I mean,
be good
that's one of
networking
the, it's
buddies
on
on
my
that.
list for my living room to have lightsabers on my wall. So,
Gotcha.
but I bought the obnoxious ones that make a lot of really horrible noises. So we will drive people
You
nuts
mean
at
the fun one?
the fun ones at Chad. So I don't hula hoop like Vida does, but I do play with lightsabers. So come play with me. And a bunch of us are going to be going to Disneyland on Wednesday, the day before the conference starts. So you could join us for that too, and come do ADHD the Indie Out Loud way. Be really loud and really obnoxious and fun in Disneyland. I hope that you got a lot out of this. If you have questions about ADHD, how ADHD affects you, is this ADHD? Is this something else? Like, feel free to ask us, because we will, even if we don't have the answers, we're going to push you in the right direction to get the answer that you may need. And maybe we'll have some questions for you to help you dial things in and know what to take to a medical professional to figure out what you need. And
Mm.
maybe you just need one of us. You could reach out to Britt, you could reach out to me. We have multiple ways to work with us. Please let us know how we can help you today.